I think it's worth asking the question that was put by the police officer to the lady. The police officer asked her, "Are you praying?" In other words, there was nothing she was obviously doing which was harassment or in any way objectionable. The police officer had to actually go into her mind. She was just standing there. I don't think it's even clear that she was even kneeling.
You may be familiar with this.
What are you here for today?
Physically, I'm just standing here.
Okay. Why here of all places? I know you don't live nearby.
But this is an abortion centre.
You praying?
I might be praying in my head, not out loud.
So I'll ask you once more, will you voluntarily come with us now to the police station for me to ask you some questions about today and other days where there are allegations that you've broken public spaces protection?
If I've got a choice, then no.
Okay, well then you're under arrest on suspicion of failing to comply with the public spaces protection order.
But most people are unaware of Isabel's second encounter with the officers.
You are outside here when you know you shouldn't be. Okay. The public space protection order says not to be stood outside here, doesn't it?
I haven't seen that, no. It says protest.
Yeah, protest.
I'm not protesting.
But people know who you are and they know why you're here. Okay, then.
No, I'm not protesting.
But they will. And the people that persistently phone us, which are the residents and the people who use this place, are the ones that say that they know. And it's their perception of events, isn't it?
I'm just silently praying and that's all I'm doing.
Okay, and it's their perception of events, which is that you're protesting. Now, I get what you're saying. I completely understand where you're coming from. But it's people's perception, isn't it?
I think there has to be some measurable level of intimidation or harassment, and that's not something that I'm doing.
Okay,
I
then.
don't have any intention of it.
Okay then. So what we'll start with is we're going to issue you with a ticket now, and if you don't leave the area, you'll then be arrested. Do you understand that? Okay. I won't ask if you're happy with that, but you're happy that you understand the process.
I understand.
Yeah, okay.
The church in America is going to suffer so terribly. And we laugh now, but they will come after us. They will come after our children. They will close the net around us while we are playing soccer mom and soccer dad, while we are arguing over so many little things and mesmerized by so many trinkets. The net even now is closing around you and your children and your grandchildren, and it does not cause you to fear.
If you recall, in December 2022, Isabel vaughan-spruce was arrested for standing by the sidewalk and praying in her mind. Then, fast forward to March 2023, she was arrested again by the police.
It is an offence.
I disagree.
Okay then. So you would rather that you be arrested and taken away than stand outside the exclusion zone? Is that what you're saying?
Are those the only two alternatives?
Yes.
I don't think I'm doing part of that offence. Intimidating or harassing. I'm not protesting.
What was her offense? Praying in her mind. Yes, you heard that right. What you're thinking or praying in your mind can now get you into trouble in the United Kingdom. Unbelievable.
We now have people arrested for praying, interrogated by the police, asked what they're praying about, what they're thinking. This is, as my honourable friend said, dystopian. It's like a mix of Huxley, Philip Dick and Orwell. It is unthinkable that we should be living in a society where what people think has become a matter of police interest, but more than that, not merely a matter of police inquiry. The lady concerned was arrested and charged. She went to court. Of course, in the end, she was acquitted, but that's not the point. The very fact that she could have been arrested for what she thought, for praying, is, in a much overused word, chilling.
Since her arrest, Isabel has been fighting her case in the UK legal system, but, praise the Lord, the police have dropped all charges against her. She also received an apology from the police. ADF UK states, following a 6-month investigation, West Midlands police have confirmed that they will not bring charges against Isabel vaughan-spruce, issuing an apology for the length of time to reach the decision not to prosecute her for silent prayer. The charitable volunteer was arrested for praying in a buffer zone. The censorship zone, introduced by local authorities, bans prayer. The article quoted Isabel stating, "This isn't 1984, but 2023. I should never have been arrested or investigated simply for the thoughts I held in my mind. Silent prayer is never criminal. I welcome West Midland Police's decision to end their investigation and their apology for the time it took to do so, but it's important to highlight the extremely harmful implications of this ordeal, not just for myself, but for everyone concerned with fundamental freedoms in the UK. What happened to me signals to others that they too could face arrest, interrogation, investigation, and potential prosecution if caught exercising their basic freedom of thought." Now that authorities have twice settled on the conclusion that silent prayer is not a crime, a conclusion also reached by the Home Secretary last week, I am thankful to resume my practice of praying silently for women in crisis pregnancies.
I'm still trying to get my mind around the fact that I've been arrested for silent thoughts going on in the privacy of my own head. My faith is a central part of who I am. So sometimes I'd stand or walk near an abortion facility and pray about this issue. Police asked me what I was doing one afternoon near the abortion centre. I was clearly just standing there, motionless. I was completely silent. I let the police officers know that I might be praying inside my own head. That's all I was doing. Thinking, lifting up my thoughts to God in silent prayer. This was enough for them to arrest me and take me to the station. Before doing this, they searched me on the pavement, even searching through my hair and confiscating the tissues from my pockets. When I was taken down to the police station, I was then grilled about what I was thinking. Later, they let me know that I've now been charged on 4 counts because of the thoughts I've been thinking and where I was thinking them. You don't have to be pro-life to see that this is wrong. Freedom of thought, conscience and belief are the most fundamental rights and are an essential part of our human identity. My name's Isabel. I'm a friend to some, a sister to others, a charity worker, a Christian. I'm not a criminal, but I've been censored.
Make no mistake, freedom of speech is under severe attack in countries that claim to be free world, and Christians are victims of this unjust censorship of freedom of speech. Sadly, the persecution Christians are experiencing in the United Kingdom is a precursor of tribulations those who hold fast to their faith in Jesus will likely experience sooner or later, and it is already happening globally.
Persecution has really practical consequences. So we need to get behind our brothers and sisters who are suffering because of their faith. But there is something bigger, which is, as we're told in 1 Corinthians 12, when one part of the body suffers, every part suffers.
That's more reason why we must, first and foremost, pray and then speak up, and support Christian organizations that defend Christians being persecuted for their Christian values and convictions, such as the sanctity of life.
Because freedom of speech is fundamental, it's foundational, it's a freedom that enables other freedoms too. If you damage freedom of speech, it's like compromising the foundations of a house. The rest of the structure will fall apart also. Without the freedom to speak, we can't fully enjoy freedom of religion, assembly, protest, or even enjoy a full life with family and friends. Speaking freely enables our ability to think freely. If we cannot hear and debate new ideas or information, we cannot have a fulsome mental life either. In addition, Christians believe God has spoken to us in words. So when we restrict freedom of speech, we almost always reduce the opportunity for people to share the gospel or other important beliefs. Do you wish for accountable government and a healthy democracy? Then you should care about freedom of speech. Free speech is essential to holding governments to account and is the lifeblood of any democracy.
While we celebrate Isabel's victory, other people are facing charges for praying in their minds. This Army veteran, Adam Smith Connor, is facing charges of praying in his mind in a public space.
We just wanted to sort of come over and just say hello in the first instance, but also just inquire to your activities for today.
Well, I'm praying.
Just for your awareness, you are in an area which is governed by a public space protection order. I don't know if you're aware.
I am aware.
Of that public space protection
Yeah.
order. They also call it a safe zone. There are signs located in the area just to make you aware of that and the area where certain activities are prohibited.
Sure. Yeah.
In terms of that, can I ask what is the nature of your prayer today?
We find it absurd that a police officer could have the audacity to ask someone what he was praying about. Sadly, the United Kingdom has fallen so low that a private citizen can no longer safely pray in his mind in a public space without fear of being interrogated by the police.
What is the nature of that? I'm praying for my son.
I don't want to probe, I don't want to sort of ask you to elaborate on that, but
Sure.
At the same time it would be remiss of me to sort of not mention the, like I say, the area of the activity.
Sure.
In terms of that, there is a clause within the public space protection around prayer.
Yes.
And around disapproval around the activities at the clinic here.
Right.
As I say, whilst I don't want to probe as to the reasons you are praying for your son, it obviously is perhaps pertinent to the area that you are in, and like I said, the PSPO and legislation around that.
Well, I'm praying for my son who's deceased.
I'm very sorry to hear.
Thank you.
Okay. So, again, I'm sorry for your loss, but ultimately I have to go along the guidelines of the public space protection order.
Right.
They say that we are in the belief, therefore, that you are in breach of clause 4A that says about prayer.
As far as we know, no UK law prohibits someone from praying in their minds. Even the UK's Home Secretary agrees. Suella Braverman made the following statement in a lengthy post on X, formerly Twitter. It is worth remembering that silent prayer in itself is not unlawful.
We've been really busy. The whole team has worked incredibly hard over the last 6 months or so. Still further to go and a lot more to do. Well, from day one, I've called for common sense policing. It means a relentless focus on getting the basics right, responding swiftly and effectively to victims of crime, focusing on the priorities like antisocial behaviour. There's still so much to do, and I am committed to continuing to both support and hold police to account so that people feel safer and see real change in their communities.
Adam Smith Connor was arrested and fined for praying in his mind. Now he is fighting in court to defend his freedom of thought.
We are standing in the nation of the Magna Carta, the nation which has championed democracy and freedom. We have a history of upholding human rights that we can be proud of, and a respect for freedom that I fought to uphold when I served this country for 20 years as an Army reservist and Afghanistan veteran. Yet here I stand before you on the steps of Poole Magistrates Court, being prosecuted for a thought crime. The facts of my case are clear. I am accused of breaching an abortion clinic buffer zone for praying for my son Jacob and other victims of abortion, for their families and the abortion clinic staff on Ophir Road in Bournemouth. I did not approach anyone, I did not speak to anyone, I did not breach anybody's privacy. I simply stood silently. I'm being tried for the prayerful thoughts I held in my head.
Who could have imagined that in the 21st century someone would be going to court to defend himself for simply praying in his mind? Despite opposition from numerous PMs, the UK Parliament enacted legislation in March 2023 to establish censorship zones across the country, which might be understood as banning silent prayer. As a result, there may be many more attempts to prosecute anyone who prays or provides support services to women in need near facilities that provide services to mothers who wish to have their babies removed.
But he must understand that prayer does two things. It sends a message, one hopes, to the Almighty, and it provides solace for the person praying. So it may well be the person praying outside this clinic is sending a message, but that message is just as likely to be a transcendental one as it is to any individual in the proximity of the place. And the idea that we should interrupt the relationship between an individual and their God seems to me to be pretty monstrous, particularly as the amendment in the name of the Honourable Member for Northampton South specifically says that any activity, communication or prayer shall not influence any person's decision or, more especially, obstruct or impede any person. So this is not about interfering with another. This is about expressing a view to oneself, to the Lord, to others perhaps. But that can be said of any prayer at any time. Are we going to arrest people in other public places? Once this is allowed, once this is permitted, the police are permitted to arrest people for what they think and what they are praying about. Why not arrest them in other public places? Why does it have to be just abortion clinics? Once you open this door, why wouldn't the police arrest people outside mosques or outside temples? Why wouldn't they arrest them in any other public space where they're praying to express a view or opinion, or indeed, as I said, to express it not horizontally, but vertically to a greater power above us? I give way to Honourable Lady because I said I would.
Before any society devolves into an authoritarian state, it nearly always begins by censoring dissenting voices and restricting people's free speech or ability to openly express their thoughts, which includes holding the government accountable for passing unjust laws.
In the Christian tradition, your freedoms and abilities are God-given to enable you to love others in knowing and sharing the truth. Outside of Christianity, it's widely recognized that free speech is an essential expression of our human nature. Our legal tradition recognizes this. Our common law is designed to respect God-given freedoms, unless there's a good reason to interfere. So your right to free speech is evident through a lack of legal restriction. However, there are several international declarations that positively recognize your freedom of speech. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the European Convention, and our own Human Rights Act all recognize your right to speak freely.
Christians are called to obey the government as long as it acts in accordance with biblical truth and upholds moral principles. Unfortunately, we see an international attempt by the government in many so-called civilized countries to prevent Christians from openly expressing their faith, views, values, and convictions. Please help us spread biblical truth. Subscribe, like, and share. God bless you.